Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're playing with soft pastels, and I'm going to show you how to create the backgrounds for these two cards. So, we're going to start by stamping the sentiment for the first card with Special Moments. That's a celebration stamp set that's available through the end of February 2022 with a qualifying purchase. Let me just straighten up my sentiment on my block a little bit. And I'm going to ink that with Memento. Just checking that all of it is well inked. Since I'm not using my Stamparatus, I need to stamp once and be good. So, stamping on Very Vanilla, if I didn't mention that before, and I'm going to give it a rub all over and hold a moment so that the ink has time to transfer. Okay, I'm going to set that aside and I'll die cut that a bit later and put my ink out of the way. And now we're going to play with that background and our soft pastels. When you purchase the soft pastels, you get the 8 sticks of color here that coordinate with the Stampin' Up! Color families. And I've got a piece of scrap paper and a layer here in Very Vanilla and a Plenty of Patterns mask that I'm just going to sit on here, decide how I want this. I'd like it going this way. Okay. And then I need my silicone craft sheet. And I've got my shimmery embossing paste. And I keep it in the bag that it comes in. And let's take the lid off. And I've got a piece of cling over that. And then let me find my little bit of an opening here and one of my palette knives. So I need just a little scoop of the embossing paste. And then we're going to put all of these pieces back on. It keeps our embossing paste from drying out. And I'm going to use this Mango Melody stick and my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm just going to scrape color onto my embossing paste. It's okay. Yes, it's going to use up some of that stick, but what are we saving it for? And it doesn't use an enormous amount of it. Oh my goodness, these last a good long time. And let's make sure that that's the yellow that we need for this project. I want to mash that out and make sure that I don't have any white left. Okay, and I'm going to add just a little bit more. Okay, so you can have the intensity that you want of any of these colors and mix and match. So now let me hold my mask in place, and I'm going to start in the center-ish and kind of spread this like, oh, I don't know, like you're buttering a piece of bread, or scraping on a crumb coat of icing. And I'm working from the inside out so that I am using the embossing paste that we've colored on my card base piece, the layer, rather than scraping it out to the edge and then not being able to continue to scrape and use. Okay, so get it all the way out to the corners when you get there. There we go. And the thing that I like about tinting with the soft pastels is you're not adding any liquid to your embossing paste. So it dries more quickly and you have less warp of your layer. Warping is natural anytime you add moisture to your cardstock. And we're just getting in here and working up this last edge. Okay. And just going to come down. You can hear all of that glittery goodness in there as I pull the palette knife across. And then I'm going to carefully loosen this so that I'm lifting it straight up. Okay, so this needs to dry, and I need to wash off my silicone craft mat, the palette knife, and my Plenty of Patterns mask, and I'll do that and be back. So our background layer is dry now, and I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal Plus on the back of this layer. This will give it the hold that it needs since it has buckled here. And I've got a piece of basic black that I'm going to adhere it to, and it gets just a narrow mat. So I want to make sure that I'm checking first before pressing, because you only get one try with the Stampin' Seal Plus, as opposed to my usual multi-purpose glue. Just making sure that I've left myself a border here. This is a little harder to use for me. Generally, I use it just to adhere my boxes. But I didn't use my heat tool as this was drying to turn it over occasionally to keep it from warping. Okay, so there's our layer on the basic black, and I've got a bumblebee card base that we're going to add that to. And here's my piece of Very Vanilla for the inside. And on that Very Vanilla matte layer, I'm going to add a piece of the Bumblebee in color designer paper that's part of the 2020-2022 pack, and then this piece of Altogether designer paper, which is part of the current special release. And that'll just give us a little bit of detail on the inside of our card. Let's layer these up first. And that looks about even. And then add some multi-purpose glue to the back of this. And then we're just going to put this down at the bottom, near the bottom. And just checking to see if we're straight before I give that a good rub. And now I'll take my paper snips and cut off my little bit of extra. And then let's add this to the inside of the card with multi-purpose glue. It just takes a little like hairline amount as you work around the back to hold that in place. Okay, and then next I want black Stampin' Dimensionals for the back of this layer. They'll hide back there. And I am going to add some extra since I've got just that little bit of buckle. And then, of course, support the middle. Okay, let's line that up, and then we'll add this piece. Okay, and then I've got this piece of Altogether designer paper that I've cut with a stitched triangle, and that matches the piece that is on the inside. So 2 full size in the black and then 1 mini for up here at the tip. And then I want white Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of our very vanilla piece. And I'm going to double the ends and a single in the middle. Now let's put this one down. And I'm just laying it in place. I'm not pushing it down yet because I need to check and make sure that when I put this on, that this is going to be tilted so that you see the 3 corners. Okay, that works. So we'll press all of that down. And then I want some of this bumblebee gingham ribbon for my card. And I'm going to tie a quick bow so that I get my length. And then let's angle cut that and put this out of the way. And then let's untie the bow, and to make it a little softer bow, I'm going to cut this in half. And it doesn't matter that my halves aren't perfectly even. Just have to be careful as my scissors are kind of curving back and forth across this, that I don't cut through a side all the way. This always seems to take me longer than I think it should. Okay, almost done. Woo woo. And here we are at the end. Okay. Whew. So we'll put these 2 together. But 2 smaller pieces is softer than the full size piece. And let's give this a loop, and just trying to make sure that when I'm done, I'm sort of in the middle. Okay. There's this, and then I want a mini glue dot for the back. Oh, I didn't pick it up. And let's do a second one for just in case. Give it a little twist to pick it up. Sometimes they stick to my fingers. Okay, so and I'm going to stick another couple of mini glue dots underneath my ribbon. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick and roll that. I don't want this one halfway up my card. So let's give that ribbon a little bit of a twist here so that it is curled, and put this under the end so that it still looks soft. Bring that up just a little bit. There we go. That's 2, 2, 2, 2. So we're going to move this in just a little bit to soften the look of this. We don't want it to look pulled down hard. There we go. There's our curl, and then we're going to curl this one around as well and roll up another one of those mini glue dots. And let's give this one a little curl around as well. Oops. Wants to stay on my Take Your Pick. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing down on these other two. So rolling that glue dot. Okay. And our final mini glue dot here. Okay. And roll that up. And twist our ribbon so that you get a curl. Oops. That'll sit right there on my Take Your Pick. And then I'm going to shorten this just a smidge on this one. Okay, and then one last little detail. I want to add a matte black dot. I think one of the smaller ones here. And I'm just going to add one up here to bring in a little more of that black. And there's our special moments with the soft pastels in the yellow, and then here's the original with the green. Let me clean up and I'll be back with the other card. So for our second card, I'm going to start with some scrap paper down and then a piece of crumb cake and bring in my soft pastels. And I'm going to start with the purple here and color on at the top and bring that down. I'm going to bring a little bit of blue through this. And then take my finger and give this a rub all over to kind of blend it and soften it a little bit. And then I'm going to wipe that off quickly over here. And then next, I'm going to take some of that Mango Melody coming up into the purple blue section just a little bit. And then I'm going to bring our red in. And let's give this a little bit of a blend. I would like a little bit more of this. And strongest maybe through here. And then I'm going to come across this again to brighten. And I still want just a little. So this, as you can see, is just a little playing with until you get the kind of shading that you want. I'm creating a sunset with this. And then I'm going to come back across this. And give this a good, like, rub all around. And want to give a couple little blue. I don't know about your sunset, but mine often has that little bit of blue hanging on. And so we're going to call that it for our sunset with the soft pastels. And then let's create the rest of our scene here. So first I'm going to start with the Mountain Air stamp set. Now this is from the annual catalog, and I'm using the back of the mountain stamp, so the side that doesn't have all of the detail. And I'm going to ink up in basic gray. Okay, let's put this over here out of the way and decide where I want my mountains positioned with this sunset. And giving this a rub and a hold. Want to make sure that I'm transferring that ink. And then I'm going to ink up a second time to deepen that just a little bit. And you could do this with your Stamparatus if you wanted to. There we go. Let's put the basic gray out of the way and start and stamp our pieces for our cactus. Now we'll be using the Cactus Cutie stamp set. This one is in the January to June mini catalog. I don't need my scrap paper any longer, and I'm going to move my background out of the way. So I've got some scrap pieces of crumb cake, and I'm going to start with Garden Green, and let's go ahead and bring my Mossy Meadow in here. And let's ink up my cactus piece here with Garden Green. And then I want to ink the edge with Mossy Meadow. So I'm just giving that a little bit of a rock and roll. And I bet I put that down too low. Okay, so again, rub and transfer. And there's this piece. And let's bring in our other pieces. And I want this barrel shape. And again, I'm going to rock this outside edge in my Mossy Meadow. And let me check my punch here to see. I guess it doesn't matter which side I... Okay, and then we want some of this small paddle, and we're going to ink those with the Garden Green. And then the same thing I want to do. I'm doing the same edge on each one of these. So we're creating a little bit of shadow and interest by inking that one edge, and then one more of these. And I can just pull that in here. Okay, so that's most of our stamping. I'm going to close up the ink pads for a moment so that I don't get my hands in them. And let's bring in the coordinating cactus builder punch. That's part of the Cactus Cuties Bundle. And when you choose to purchase it that way, you do get a 10% discount versus purchasing each of the items separately. And if I haven't already mentioned, there will be project sheet for both of these cards that I've shared today in my newsletter on January, we're in February, February 21st. There's a link in the description below the video to sign up for my newsletter. And if you're in the United States, you can use the link below the video to shop in my Stampin' Up store. Okay, and then this one doesn't have a punch or a die, and we're just going to quickly cut that out with paper snips. Let's cut that loose. And the lovely thing about stamping on the crumb cake is, since our background is also crumb cake, we don't have to worry about how much border or how far down into that split we're going to cut. Okay, let me move all of these scrap pieces out of the way. And we're almost ready to assemble. Let's slide those over. We'll bring our background piece back in, and we need to add the sentiment. And I'm going to stamp that in Mossy Meadow. And let's make sure that it's straight. And I'm just going right down here into the corner. I'm not mashing down, just rubbing across. Don't want to splat the letters out by mashing. Okay, now let's put this together. So I've got a Blackberry Bliss base and a white insert. Just add some multi-purpose glue to that basic white. Okay, and then let's grab my dimensionals and mini dimensionals and, whoops, get these started over here. Make sure you add enough dimensionals that you're giving your card support. And of course, have to go back and take all the backing pieces off. Now, if you care to, you can spray this with a Krylon to seal it. I find after I've rubbed and rubbed with my fingers to blend it, there isn't much that's going to rub off. So let's start here. And then I want to add this piece behind the barrel. So let's adhere them. And then I want one of the paddles. And I'm going to double stack that so that it sort of lifts back here. And let's add just a little bit of adhesive down here at the bottom for where we're going to tuck this in here. Oops. Give that a hold a moment. Okay, now we're ready to add dimensionals at the top of this piece. One more here. And let's straighten, and I'm going to bring this down almost to the bottom here. Now I'm not pressing this down yet because I want to add these other paddle pieces behind. And let's do this one as well. Whoops, that might be a little high. Let's bring it down just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add a dab of glue here. And tuck this guy in here. And then add a dab of glue on this for tucking in. Okay, whoops. And there we go. So we've built our cactus, and then I am going to take my light crumb cake Stampin' Blends, and we're going to add a little bit of shadow so that this isn't just hanging out here. So little jagged coloring up under here and out to the side. And I'm going to go over it then with my color lifter to soften that. And we'll see once it dries whether we need to come back and do that again. And then I'm going to do the same thing back along the bottom of my mountains to give it a little bit of a shadowy thing happening. I want to touch right in here as well. And then I am also going to come across those with my color lifter and kind of saturate that. So it'll take a minute to dry, but while it does, I'm going to say thanks for stopping in. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter so that you'll get the project sheet for today's cards. If you're in the United States, please do some of your Stampin' Up! Shopping in my store. And when you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Have a great day. Bye.